In this video, we'll take a look at the SiteDocs web application. This app is available on most major browsers, but for the optimal SiteDocs experience, we would recommend using Google Chrome. The web app functions almost exactly the same as the mobile app, but one big difference is that because the web app is a website and not a downloaded application, it does need a constant internet connection to function properly. To use the SiteDocs web app, go to app.sitedocs.com to log in with your username and password. If you don't have one yet, you can contact your safety administrator to set up credentials for you. The first screen you're going to see is a list of locations that are visible to you. These locations are how SiteDocs organizes all of the documents that you're signing in your SiteDocs account. So every form will always be tied to the location that you signed them in. If you don't see a location name that should be on your list, you can contact your administrator and they can make it visible for you. If you have a long list of locations, you can use the search bar at the top of the list to find the location that you're looking for. If you have the right permission profile, you can even use the Add Location button to add a new location profile on the fly from your web app. If you ever need to change your location, you can select the GPS pin icon to see this list again and change your location. Now that I'm all logged in, let's look around the home page. First is the to-do list. This is where all of your scheduled items are stored. Under Today, you'll find all the scheduled forms and scheduled signatures that are either due today or overdue, so that you can easily access them, fill out the forms, and apply the signatures. Next is Upcoming. This section holds all scheduled forms and signatures that are due in the future. If you want to get a head start on upcoming items, you can do that here. Next is the Shortcuts list. First, we have the Follow-Up section. This is where all of your pending and finished follow-up forms are stored. We have a separate video all about these forms and how they work, so we'll skip this section for now, but feel free to check out that video in our Help Center. Next is Signed Documents. This holds all of the recently signed forms for your current location. They're sorted by date or by form name to help you find the document that you're looking for. Last is your Logout button. This allows for you to log out or to switch accounts if you use multi-account login. Okay, now that we've explored the home page, let's sign a new form. First, select the form icon from the left-hand side of the app. Now you can either scroll through your list of forms to find the one you want, or use the search bar at the top to narrow down your list. We'll select the form that we want and select New to start a new one from scratch. At the top of the form, you'll see information about your company, including your company name, your location name, and your date and time. Next, we can see the label field. In this case, it's a fillable text box where you can manually enter identifying information like a job number or crew name. In other cases, your administrator may have selected a predetermined label field. In this case, the field will not be visible, and you don't need to worry about it, as one of your answers in the form will automatically fill in your label. But in this case, I'll just enter my job number manually. Now let's start filling out the form. First, we have a worker name field where you can select one or many workers that are filling out this form together. In this case, it's just me. Next, we have a long answer box where you can enter the address that you're currently working at, a number-only field for an emergency phone number, a select time item to state the time that we started working on the form, a yes/no question asking if there are any subcontractors working with us today, and a button to drop a GPS pin for my current location. Finally, I have a button to view a PDF file that contains a handy map of my current work site. The next section of my form is a very simple hazard assessment. It contains some drop-down lists for hazards and risk ratings, and a reminder to flag the hazards for corrective action if I need to. Again, we have a great feature for this kind of thing called follow-up forms, which is covered in its own video in the Help Center. So we'll skip it for now, but please check out that video if you'd like to learn more. Lastly, there's a checkbox to indicate if a corrective action was assigned. This section is repeatable, so I can duplicate it and fill out the questions a few times if there's more than one hazard that I need to report. The last section of this form is collapsible, so I can select the arrow on the right side of the title bar to expand the section if I need to fill it out. This section has a simple pass-fail question and an image showing a harness diagram that I can draw on to show any problem areas. Finally, I can even attach a photo of this harness that I'm looking at using the camera icon or the Add Photos button at the bottom of the form. Now that I've uploaded a picture of this harness, I can draw on top of it to show the broken item and even use the text tool to identify what the problem actually is. To finish the form, I can select Sign and Save to add a signature and send the form through to my administrator panel. Once the form is signed, if I have the right permission profile, I can even choose to request a signature from another user on this form. Just select Request Signature and then choose who you need a signature from. Next, choose a due date and time, and then select Schedule to send a request to that user. Please note that if you choose someone without mobile access, they will not be notified by SiteDocs in any way, so you'll have to connect with them in another fashion. Next, let's take a look at the resource section. This is a place where you can keep all of your documents that don't require fillable answers. For instance, your toolbox talks or your safety manual. From here, we can select the toolbox talk that we're looking for. We can open the document and read the entire thing. Once I'm done, I can add my signature just like a form and use the Save and Add Another button for several signatures, just in case there's a full crew reading the same document with me. If you'd like to email any of your finished documents directly from your application, you can select the share icon from the top right-hand corner of the app. This will open a new window with the finished version of your document. From this view, you can email the form, download the PDF directly to your device, or even print it from here if you need to. The next tab is your Workers tab. This is where you can find your own worker profile. And if you have the right permission profile, you can see the names of anyone else assigned to your location as well. When I select my own name from the list, I'm taken to my personal profile. From this page, I can select my Information tab and view my contact information and even add a profile photo from my existing photos on my computer. Next, I can select certifications to view my existing certifications. And if I have the right permissions, I can even add a new certification directly from my app and have it added to my SiteDocs account. Lastly, on this page, I can see previously signed to see all the forms that I've signed in the past, organized by date and by form name. The next tab is only visible if your admin team has enabled the permission to allow you to view the safety monitor. This is where all of your documentation is stored so that you can review and report on them all in one place. This page allows you to search for specific documents and display different reporting views based on a set of criteria, like date range, form name, location name, worker name, completion status, or a combination of any or all of these. You can also use the Customize Layout menu to add further viewing options like layout, grouping, general content, and scheduled forms. But before we get too far into all the different criteria options, I want to highlight the search bar at the top of the page. You can use this to search for form names, worker names, location names, and even the data in the label field of your documents. On the left side of the monitor, you'll see a column with the titles of all of your monitor views. This column can be divided into sections by selecting Add Section in the bottom left corner of the page. You can give your section a name and select Save to create it in your monitor. And now you can click and drag this to reorganize your filter view column. You can also click and drag each filter view from one section to another if you like. These sections can always be renamed or deleted. Just keep in mind that if you delete a section, any of your filter views that are saved there are also deleted. So if you want to keep them, just drag them to another section before you delete this one. Okay, let's take a look at creating new monitor views. Let's create a new filter view for forms completed this week. First, select Add View in the bottom left corner of the page. In the New View window, give your filter view a name. Then select the section that you want to add this view to. You can also choose to copy an existing view if you have another filter view that's similar to what you'd like to see in this one. If you leave this box unchecked, the default view is all of your documents signed in the last 30 days. Finally, select Create. When you're reporting on documents, you can see unread indicators to the left of any of the documents that you haven't opened yet. This will show for any completed forms, resources, or follow-up forms, and they're user-specific, so any other users in your account will have different unread indicators than you do. Next, let's take a look at the filtering options at the top of the page. First, we have a date filter. When you select the date filter, you'll see a few pre-made dynamic date ranges. These ranges will move with you as the date advances to keep your data up to date. And at the top of the window, you even have the option to create your own custom date range using a calendar. If you choose a custom date range, it will be static and will stay the same as time goes on. The completion status allows you to choose what type of forms you'd like to show. Completed means that the form or follow-up has been filled out and signed, and it wasn't scheduled ahead of time. Completed on time means that the form was scheduled and your worker completed their document on or before the due date. Completed late means just that. The worker missed the due date on their scheduled form, but they did complete the form. Scheduled means that the form is currently scheduled and the notification has been sent to a worker, but the form isn't completed yet. Pending means that a follow-up form has been created and assigned to a worker, but also it hasn't been completed or signed yet. Overdue means that the notification for a scheduled form or pending follow-up was sent and the due date has passed, but the worker still has the ability to complete the document. Missed means that the scheduled form notification was sent and the due date has passed and the worker did not have the ability to complete it after the due date. Finally, at the bottom of the list, you can choose to include the canceled filter. This means that a form or signature was scheduled, but before it was completed, somebody canceled it. The document filter allows you to choose which forms, resources, or follow-ups you want to see in your view. You can even choose if you want to include deleted form templates or not. The location filter allows you to choose which locations you want to include in your report. And like the form filter, you can choose if you want to include inactive locations or not. The worker filter allows you to choose which workers you'd like to display. You can also choose if you'd like to include inactive workers or not. The company filter allows you to dictate which companies you would like included in your view. The first option on this list will always be your company. You can also choose if you want to show inactive companies or not. The document type filter allows you to filter for all forms, resources, or follow-up forms all in one click. And finally, the company type filter allows you to dictate what types of external companies you'd like to show in this view. Need a little bit more detail in your view? No problem. Let's select Customize Layout to explore the different viewing options. The first option here is Layout. With this selector, admins can change their filter view from the default list view to an inbox view, where the selected form is shown in a smaller preview window on the right side of the monitor. You also have the option to choose Chart or Chart and List. These options add a customizable chart at the top of your view. Chart and List also includes the standard list of documents underneath the chart. I'll go over full chart setup in just a moment. Once your layout is chosen, you have the option to choose how you want to group your monitor. By default, the monitor is grouped by date, but you can choose either forms, locations, workers, date, form status, or company. Next, you can choose how much data you want to see, either the first 10, 25, 50, or 100 items. Just keep in mind that the more items you include, the longer your loading times might be. Next, you can choose whether you want to show all groups, empty groups only, or hide your empty groups. This can be used to exclude days where you weren't working, or to show workers or locations who haven't filled out their documentation. Next, you can choose whether you want to see read documents, unread documents, or both. Then you can choose if the date you see in the monitor is the date the document was completed or the date of the most recent signature. You can also choose to show the date that the form was uploaded, which may sound like the same thing as the date it was completed, but occasionally some of our customers will have their workers working in an area where they either don't have cellular connection or maybe just don't have cellular data on their device. So when they sync their device, when they connect to Wi-Fi, the date completed and date uploaded can be different. Then we have the revision filter, which allows you to either show all of your documentation or only show the most recent revision of your forms. Next, you have the option to show the name of the signing worker and the company they work for, just the worker's name, or just the company's name. Keep in mind that if you don't use external companies, all of your forms will be labeled with your company name. Last in this window is the scheduled form selector. This menu allows to choose whether you want to show all forms and signatures, only scheduled forms, or only scheduled signatures. If you made any changes here, remember to select Apply to save your settings. Now, if you chose a chart or chart and list view, there are a few settings that you should know about with your chart. First of all, if you're grouping by date, you'll see a selector in the top left corner of the chart for the window of time that you'd like to group your charts by. This includes day, week, month, and year. Next, you can choose what type of chart you'd like to use. In the top right corner of the chart, you'll see buttons that indicate the different types of chart that are available. We have column, bar, line, and pie charts. Finally, when you have the chart set up the way you like it, if you'd like to share this chart in an email, a presentation, or anything else outside of SiteDocs, you can export this chart as a PDF, image, or CSV file. Okay, now let's take a look at certification monitor views. These are much like your document views, but instead of signed documents, you'll see your workers' certifications. And the filtering options are a little bit different. So let's make a certification view. We'll select Add View, give it a title, choose your section, and then select Certifications. If you don't copy an existing view, the default view will show all certifications in your SiteDocs account. Most of the filters are the same as documents here. The different ones being certification name instead of document name, and the status filter shows expiry status. Expired means that your expiry date on the certification has passed. Expiring soon means that the expiry date is in the next 90 days. Active means that the expiry date is farther out than 90 days, or there wasn't an expiry date entered at all. And archived means that an admin in your account has marked this certification as archived. In the Customize Layout menu, you'll see the option for Grid in the Layout menu. This will show your certification information alongside the image that's attached to the certification. If there's not an image uploaded, you'll see the option to upload a photo right here on the safety monitor. You can also choose to show all additional images if you'd like with the Show Image menu under the Content section. Another great feature of the monitor is the ability to save multiple filter views, so you don't need to apply the same filter multiple times. You can save up to 200 filter views in your monitor, and every user in your account will get their own unique monitor. So when you create and edit your own filter views, no one else can see or accidentally change what you've created. We've put together a list of some popular filter views to get you started. You can find that in our Help Center. Please check out that article if you need any inspiration or tips on where to start. Now that we have some filter views set up, let's check out the Scheduled Forms feature. If your admin team has enabled this feature for you, you'll see the Schedule a Form button in the top right-hand corner of the page. Select this button to get started. Next, we'll select the date from the calendar that we'd like this form to be completed by, as well as the time of day with the clock just below it. You can even set a time zone if you have divisions of your company in different areas. Then there's a checkbox to designate if you want your workers to be able to complete this form after the due date. If this is unchecked, Once the due date passes, the form will no longer be available for them to sign, and it'll show in the missed section of your monitor that we saw earlier. Finally, at the bottom of the window, there's a drop-down menu that allows you to choose how often you'd like this scheduled form to repeat. You can even choose Custom to create a custom frequency. The next step is to select the form or resource that you want to schedule. Then the location profile and the worker profile that you'd like to assign to this form. Notice that you can assign this form to any location if you choose to. This can be handy for things like vehicle inspections, where you may not know ahead of time which location your driver will be working at. You can also select any worker, which can be helpful for things like hazard assessments, where they need to be filled out every day, but may not be the same person filling them out every time. Keep in mind that you can select any location or any worker, but you can't choose both. There's also the option to use Select All to select multiple workers. This option selects all the workers in the list, so if you were to search by name or by title, it does take that search into account when you're selecting all of the things you can see. Now you can select Schedule to send the form to your worker. Or, if the form needs a follow-up or an approval signature after it's done, then you can select Schedule Additional Signatures. On the signature screen, you can choose the worker that you need signatures from. Now that they've been added to the scheduled form, you can select the date and time for each individual scheduled signature. Now, this window allows you to select workers with no mobile access, but keep in mind that they will not get a notification on their device without mobile access, so they'll need to be contacted in some other way. Finally, I can select Schedule, and my worker and the supervisor will get a notification about the scheduled form and signature. Users can also add scheduled signatures to any forms that they can see in their monitor. Select the signature button on finished forms or the menu button on scheduled forms to request an additional scheduled signature. The last tab in the app is the Chat tab. This is where messages can be sent to other workers in your SiteDocs account. We have a whole video about how chat works in detail in our Help Center, so I won't go into too much more detail here. And that's the whole SiteDocs web app in a nutshell. If you have any questions about our web app or anything else to do with the SiteDocs program, please feel free to reach out to our wonderful support team at support@sitedocs.com.